Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of the Creators Forum. I am here with one of the most incredible people, Jonathan Kahn, a creative strategist. He's worked with some pretty amazing companies like Monday.com, Wix, just one Monday, Wix, Powtoon, Facebook Mobileye, Elementor, and
I feel
many
like
others.
everyone.
Hmm?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, sorry. Go on.
No.
I'll take the compliments, please.
Oh yeah. You got
No,
it. You got it.
I was just trying to say. I was just trying to say Monday.com. I think you have to say the .com, otherwise it's like he worked with Monday. What does that even mean?
There was a band.
Everyone works on Mondays. Like that's what's going on.
There's a post hardcore band called Thursday back where I was growing up in Jersey, and they were good. They're good. Anyway,
Yeah, because everyone loves Thursday. No one's a big fan of Monday.
That is a great line, unless you're Gary Vaynerchuk, because he's like, if you don't love Monday, you got to change your life. Anyway,
I know that you're a big fan of his, and recently I saw a video which was like amazing. Anyways,
yeah.
I'll send it to you.
All right, who? Yeah, no, I'm a fan. Okay, so the point of this whole entire Creators Forum is to be very succinct, very concise, and to be very practical. That's what we're trying to get into. We are trying to speak with people in the creative space from a lot of different angles, but to make sure that it's practical takeaways that everybody can really put some action to and start improving their own creative process or their business or whatever it may be. It's very important to make sure that people can actually use something as opposed to just, I see a lot of podcasts, I see a lot of information that's exchanged, but at the end it's kind of very much like, okay, that was good, yeah. I guess, but we're talking actionable. Okay, so we're going to jump right in. We have several questions that we're going to kind of hop into. And the first one is, Jonathan, what makes a brand or a campaign memorable?
Okay, so this is actually a very interesting thing because I think that there are a lot of campaigns that, the easiest answer is to turn around and say, give value. Okay. But that's everyone's giving value right now. And I think that there are ways to kind of connect to a deeper value, right? I don't think you're able to make right now a campaign or something that's going to, necessarily change someone's life immediately. It's not like you're just going to have that one sentence, got milk, and people are going to be like, oh my God, now I know what all the emotional issues I had as a child are now going to be. No, it's not like that. But I think that by pulling in people deeper, it kind of, is more memorable. There's also the other side of that, where if you do something that's very wild and just, out there, then people might remember it. I think that if I'm thinking about for myself, from my own perspective, when I'm looking at ads and things that I'm trying to assess which ones are really good ones and which ones are less, I think that there are certain ones that stick with me because they have a really clever or deep story that kind of connect with me emotionally. But again, the other side of it is that you can have something that's very bombast. Like if you see any of the Geico ads, they're all about doing something that's very strange, right? And it's memorable, like a funny joke someone told you at the bar. But even then, when you're thinking about a funny joke someone told you at the bar, it's also about getting to some sort of deep feeling that you have that you just didn't acknowledge, and now someone said it out loud, and now it's going to be something.
Well, I think about those Budweiser commercials, like in like the 90s or whatever it is, like
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp or the Budweiser or
but those, I don't know if they were you. Let me put it like this. Do you remember them because of the hype around them, or do you remember them because of the ad itself? So like,
I think it was the ad itself because I was a kid. I was probably, I don't know, 10, 12 years old.
Yeah, but did you see the ad when you were a kid? Or
yeah, it was probably, yeah, there used to be something called television
or whatever.
Television was a thing.
Yeah, but it was a Super Bowl commercial.
You used to have to think it started as a Super Bowl commercial. And then it kind of typically trickled in. And one of the greatest things that they did with their ads is that it wasn't just one ad. It was the theme of ads, like Coca-Cola with the bear, like that polar bear, especially during the winter and the Christmas time and whatever. They would have different takes on the ad, and all that branding Like, what does Coca-Cola have to do with a polar bear? It's cold, it's crisp, it's refreshing. I don't know what the team was thinking of, but I was just thinking about, like, there's certain things when I think like nostalgically back to, my childhood or the ads, and I don't necessarily see that type of impact from ads and that memorability. Maybe it's because the medium in which we're involved with is just so fast and changes so much. Because as I was saying before, when it comes to TV, it's like you had to think like, am I going to watch the commercial or am I going to try to find another show? And you know what?
Jump to
I'm
another thing, come
I'm
back
just,
later.
yeah, it's like I'm going to flip to another channel and that might be on a commercial. I'm just going to watch it.
Yeah, but let's put it like that. Like, again, one of the things that you're having right now, again, this is specifically my opinion on the Budweiser ones. It was unique and fun. It had this feeling to it where you could do this at home. You could play around with friends. Because of the Super Bowl having it, just by referencing it, people knew that you watched the Super Bowl too, and that you were part of the hip trend. And at the time, that was kind of the thing. Nowadays, because again, at the high pace that we see advertisements and videos, the ones that stick with me have some sort of, very clever like concept to them, right? Like, I think we've spoken about this several times, like the Tide commercial from the Super Bowl, where the part that makes it so smart is that it hijacks all of the Super Bowl and everything became a Tide ad. The Tide ad, is this a Tide ad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I'm thinking about other ones that stuck with me specifically, they're not even ones that necessarily people remember. I don't know. You probably have this too, where there's a problem where if you're trying to find an ad that was from years ago, sometimes they just like have been deleted from the planet. I don't know how this happens.
Uh-huh.
So I think it was Coca-Cola did a cherry cola ad,
Okay.
where they had
Tasty.
like New York City. They had like the construction working area, and there was a hole in the construction site, like the boards that go around. There was a hole, and some kid like is looking, and he kind of like sticks his head inside. And then some mafia guy grabs him, pulls him in, and he goes, "Hey, kid," like this other like smaller mafia guy goes, "Hey, kid, you're curious. Curiosity gets like surprises or whatever, or like it wins." And then he gave him to drink the cola, and then they like throw the kid back out, and he's like back out with the cola, and he's like, and he just keeps going. And I was like, oh, that's like an ad that for whatever reason, it connected with me. And I was like, okay, I like the concept of saying your curiosity was going to give you a treat. And that in some way connects to what I believe ads should kind of like for new products and things like that. We're trying to convince people to try something new. What a very simple, plain way to be like, you're curious. And if you're curious, you'll win, right? Kind of thing. The other ad that I have that's stuck in my head right now, that's like one of those ads that's stuck that I don't know how many people saw it, was Reebok did a CrossFit ad for women. And it was it's so good. I have it. I can send it to you, by the way. The ad is a little girl in her mom's bedroom, and she's looking to try on her shoes, right? Kind of like that, that iconic thing that we've all seen, where a little girl puts on her mom's high heels and walks around in like high heels, right?
Yeah.
But the little girl goes in the closet and she's pulling out these shoe boxes to put on shoes, and she finds lots and lots and lots of Reebok sports CrossFit shoes. And each one of the shoes that she picks up, underneath it has like these photographs of her during this insane triathlon or this crazy competition or whatever she's doing. And then it was kind of like this, every like time she looks at it, it shows you a splice of that. And I thought it was so clever to kind of be like, I'm going to take this very well-known situation, I'm going to flip it and show you that women power kind of situation of like, women are strong and they do CrossFit and they do things, and it stuck with me. It was just such a good, clever way of doing it.
So I think what we're seeing is like,
that's clever.
Either there's
is it, huh?
There's like shock, because when you talk about that ad about the kid like peering in, he gets pulled out by a gangster, that's a little bit of fear, but it's like he was let out, so there's kind of like an uncertainty. There's something it's shocking. It's like, oh, what just
shocking,
happened here?
But again, I still think the part that resonates the most with me is if it's clever, if it's interesting. I think that also works with other people too, because think about it, like with the ads that people are remembering and talking about, even again, if you're looking at Geico, that is flat out just jokes. It's like just jokes that my grandpa would have said around the table, right? They had the is Geico worth is it worth insuring your car with Geico? And then he says like the line 15 minutes or more will save you 50%, blah blah blah, on your car insurance. And then he goes, is too tall, John, too tall? And then they show a small scene of a guy on the scale in the doctor's office where they have to measure you with that metal like stick.
Mm-hmm.
And then she like goes up to the top, and then she keeps going until it comes out, and then she kind of holds it like this, and it's just like this very cute little scene. But it's like, because the clever concept of how to switch it around on me and bring in the funny story, that really made it memorable. I think that that's also happens with a lot of stuff that we have in life, right? It's those clever moments, those little intellectual points where you're like, oh, that was freaking genius. I gotta remember that.
And it's something that we all can relate to, the relatability.
Yeah. I mean, we can all laugh at it. I mean, the concept is that you want to, whenever you're doing something, you're not looking to get a tiny niche of people. You want to have a large spread. Again, we're all looking to make money. So you're looking to have a large spread of people who all go, oh, I feel that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it needs to be something that reigns true for majority of the people, that at least the majority of the potential customers you have. But yeah, I think that's what my opinion about that is, that's where it really goes. I've done several times where I had to give an idea for a campaign or a commercial, and I'll write 2 or 3 ads out, and then I'll go and I'll test it with as many people as possible. I'll read them out, the whole scenario and everything. And I've noticed that really first of all, that side of it has to reign true for everyone is really, really true. A lot of the times, that's why we see a lot of humoristic ads, right? Because everyone enjoys a good laugh. Not everyone can get to the same depth or see the perspective of someone who's in pain or I was trying to show, I think I was doing a Father's Day ad, and I showed people a concept of, as a father, it's important to lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the whole concept of like doing something that I love, not working in a job that I don't want to work, always going and do something I love, because I want my kid to know that he should push himself to do something he loves. And it was like really deep. And I was like, oh, this is great. And then I had another script, which was just kind of funny. And even though mine was really deep and it might have meant a lot for a specific parent, it wasn't that large rain hit that it was going to make everyone feel what I wanted them to feel. Mm-hmm. And then it ended up being the more funny one, which was less emotional also for me. Like, as I wrote the funny one as this is hilarious, but not. So yeah, it has to reign true to people. I think it needs to be clever. I think it needs to have depth to it. Yeah, even the stupid things you remember have some level of depth, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I appreciate that.
Sorry, it was a long answer.
No, that was great. We're going to chop it up.
We're going to make it into 3 seconds. Just the thing you said in the end.
Yeah. Depth.
Bloop. Depth.
Johnny Depth. Huh?
Johnny Depth.
Johnny Depth.
All right.
I feel like there's something there. There's an
Johnny
idea there.
Depth.
Johnny Depth. Okay. Where do you find creative inspiration, and how do you keep track of those ideas?
Wow. Okay. So specifically me, I have a really, really good memory. I mean, I'm dyslexic, so I spent a lot of time memorizing books and stuff so people wouldn't figure it out. People only figured out I was dyslexic around 10. I guess I just thought I was stupid, but at the time, at least I could memorize things enough to get me. Yeah, you're stupid. At least it could get me like through classes and stuff. So like I was memorizing a lot. So I love consuming content, and then they immediately get filed in my head.
Where's your main content consumption areas?
So it really goes all over the place. I mean, there are websites that you can watch. Again, I like to test the temperature or the of what's going on in culture right now by watching advertisements, videos, commercials, TV shows, television, movies, whatever it is. That's how I get an understanding of where culture is right now, right? All the social media posts, all these things. This is what I'm consuming to understand where it is. I don't need to remember all the ads as much as I need to understand what they did smart and what was the purpose of it. Like I need to break things down. So when I'm breaking things down really quickly, it automatically, you know what, you ever have that thing where you write someone's number down on your hand?
Never.
And for whatever reason, never?
You mean the phone? Dude. What year are you in?
Someone's phone number.
You write it down on your hand.
I want to remember someone's name.
That's when you had pens on you. Who carries a pen?
Markers.
Phone. Okay.
No, so I used to write things down. Whenever I wrote something down on my hand, I remember it. It was like solid. So like for me, once you take something and you break it apart, all of a sudden the ad becomes very obvious to you. And the content where I'm looking at content is I'm watching, first of all, social media content like crazy. Spot.tv. Do you know that one? Spot.tv is basically TV ads in the US. I think it's around the world. I have a couple other websites that have all around the world content, like Japan, Thailand, stuff like that. I love watching that kind of stuff because it's always very funny to see the Thai commercials. I don't know if you've ever looked at this. Like you had to at one point come across like some Thai commercial, but there's like a Thai commercial that has these guys dressed like cockroaches and then a husband and a wife. And they're like, like the wife's saying to him, like, do something. And he's like, so he goes and gets a spray and he sprays the cockroach and the cockroach is like, I feel nothing. He gets all excited. He feels nothing. He's immune. And he goes back to his cockroach friends and he's standing around. Again, it's the longest commercial I've ever seen in my life. He's standing with a whole bunch of his friends who are all dressed like cockroaches and like, I got sprayed. Nothing happened. Ha ha. This is amazing. I'm immune. And one of them touches him and the other one goes, oh, yay. And they all start jumping up and down. And then they start dying. And then the spray is basically meant
Corona.
to like, yeah, it's basically Corona to spray.
Oh, no, God.
But it's meant to go and like get back to the nest and then kill everyone at the nest.
Yeah.
So that was the ad. And you look at that and you go, this is the most popular, one of the most popular ads in Thailand. Really? This is what was going on? And you're just like, this is amazing. I need to keep this in my head. I need to have this somewhere. This is just too good.
Interesting.
So I watch a lot of content from around the world. And
then how do you keep track of it? Like you said, you have a good memory,
so
but you showed me something that you had like a Vimeo or a something where you kind of.
So I had a Pinterest. Like I had a Pinterest that I did this for a while. Like I noticed again. Remember when Pinterest had like 90% women on it and men couldn't figure out what to use it for? So
still
then I met.
Still there.
So I met. It's possible. I don't even know what's going on with Pinterest. But I started meeting creative people, and they were using it for pinning. Like designers were using it to pin designs and stuff like that. And I was using it to collect videos. And I had like a rule for myself that if I saw a video and it still somehow connected to me, I was meant to do something with it. So if I saw a video in a month after I was still thinking about it, I put it on the board. That was like the thing. And I got to say that till today, there's a ton of, but let me put it like this. I break it down. So I watched the Apple ad, right? Apple has an ad where it's called Apple at Work. I think that's the name of it. And it's a very clear ad. It's very, very nice. And I watched the ad and I processed what was done right and what was done wrong and what was the purposes and what you could learn from this, right? I can tell you that in my career, I've showed that ad maybe twice or 3 times to clients, but to explain to them, not to copy that, God no, but to find the inspirations that I see in it, to understand the parts of it that are really genius, and to take those takeaways to create their own piece of content. So like, again, if you don't process the content, then for sure it will fall apart. It won't be in your memory. You won't have any reason and you won't be able to do anything with it.
Gotcha. So you're kind of going into it. You're analyzing as you go. I once, I have the book over there. The E-Myth. You ever heard of the book, The E-Myth? It's a fantastic, let me see. Yeah, it's a fantastic book. Here we go. Oh, this is
okay. That does not look like a book with pictures. I mean, I did mention I'm dyslexic. I'm just kidding, man. I'm kidding.
I mean, isn't text just a bunch of pictures, but that we put meaning to?
A lot of symbols.
Yeah. Anyway,
but I'll read it. Can you show that again?
The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
Yeah, you. That's your Bible, apparently.
Yeah. This is the guy. You got to trust that guy. You can't not.
Yeah.
Anybody
White
with
hat? Why not?
Doesn't he look like one of those?
He looks like the bad guy. He looks like the guy who runs Jurassic Park. Let's be honest. Like that. That's
yes. Yes. He's the
one who found the marrow, the sap with the mosquito in it. That's him.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy that he wrote.
What do I want my brand to be?
Jurassic Park was not a good investment.
How do I want to brand myself? What about that guy from Jurassic Park? Anyway, he speaks. Now we're losing. He speaks about the idea that we are constantly. We have like a radar always. Consumers always have their radar up, and he was talking about it when somebody walks into a store, like they don't even realize it, but they're picking up subtle cues about the color of, you know, the size of the shelves, the color of the suit, the whatever. And he says everything is statistically significant. And he said, I forgot the exact statistic, but he said something like, if the same guy gave the same sales pitch in the same way, but he's wearing a brown suit versus or a green suit or a blue suit, the blue suit statistically does, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 10% better in sales than the guy who does the same exact thing. You know,
Yeah, we see this with landing pages when you start checking the color of a button, which sounds so stupid, but we know that it has an impact. So definitely.
So what I'm saying is that
when you're talking about video, there's even more than that. Like there's amazing video content that I've seen ads for specific things, but in the background they happen to throw one thing in there, and then I find myself buying that a month later, and I'm like, what? How did I even find out about this? And then I'm like, oh shit, it was that video that I saw.
But we are like reverse engineering the process, and we're doing it from a creator's perspective or creative's perspective, which is instead of as a consumer taking in these subtle cues, we're trying to activate them. And as we look at an ad, as opposed to passively looking at an ad or looking at a piece of content or whatever it is, a commercial, we're now studying. And that paradigm shift of like understanding, like, it's kind of, look, when I started getting into video a couple of years ago, all of a sudden I looked at the videos that I did in the beginning that I created. And then I did, you know, looked at them 2 years later when I was much more aware about, you know, color grading and lighting and angles and, you know, you name it, framing. I was just like, oh, you know, looking at my old stuff.
Yeah,
but beforehand, when I looked at it, I was like, this is the great, the one thing, camera shake. Okay. So I edited videos a couple years ago. For an organization. And I wasn't doing the videography. I was just editing. And it was a very quick turnaround. I had to get it, like all these videos out in like a week. And it was just like ridiculous amounts of footage I had to get out like in 1 week, week after week after week. And I was just kind of like going into it. And I realized that a lot of my friends who were videographers and really, they're like, oh dude, that clip is terrible. And I didn't see it. And then, you know, a couple of years later, like looking back at it, I was just like, oh, like I can now see because I'm much more sensitive to it. Whereas your average consumer, they might not be able to pick up on all these things actively, but the creative, what they need to do is they need to train their eyes and train their mind to start analyzing.
It's not only just the creative, it's way beyond that. Like I try to teach my kid this. Like when I tell my kid to try something new, right? Like a piece of sushi, right? So my kid tries sushi for the first time and he goes, I don't like it. I said, no, you can't say that. He goes, why not? I go, because you've just tasted average sushi. Now you need to taste really good sushi. And then you'll be able to make a decision if you like it or you don't like it. And then you'll be able to even start measuring. You'll be able to say, oh, this is the best piece of sushi I've had. This is the worst piece of sushi I had. This one beats that one. You need to have a whole bunch of things to analyze where, like to be able to like understand the scope of what's good, what's bad in the world. So the same thing happens when you're looking at content. Every time I look at a piece of content, I'm looking for what works, what doesn't work. How can I use this? What are they trying to do? What are they making me feel? That's my favorite one. I'm like, if I watch one and I'm feeling something, oh my God, I spoke about this yesterday. There's an Israeli ad that was done on YouTube for giving charity for this child who's suffering from, I don't know, tumor or something like that. And the ad starts off on YouTube with her crying, the little girl crying and the mother comforting her. And, you know, immediately it got me. It got me like right off the bat. Then we get into the story a little bit. And just the fact that her sister was in the background made it even more like conscious. I started feeling even worse for the sister who's there. And I started understanding this whole thing. And then I immediately wanted to go and give money. Like, and I said, okay, wow. So again, not as a manipulative, negative thing, especially with the movie A Social Dilemma. I'm not looking to like hack people's mind, but in the most positive way possible. There are many charities and different organizations that are trying to help people who are suffering from different diseases and different things. They need to go full on like that. Like, because I've never watched or saw a post or anything that made me feel that much of an impact than starting a YouTube video. I was just, you know, diddly-daddling online, like, oh, I'm going to watch a funny YouTube video. And then all of a sudden seeing a little girl cry and a mother comforting her because in her world, she doesn't have time to watch stupid YouTube videos. She needs to find a way to raise money for her daughter.
Yeah.
That tore me up. And then you go, okay, so again, if you analyze it more, you go more in the depth, you go from what I'm feeling to what chemicals it's making me feel in my brain, what is happening, right? Oxytocin is being released. I'm now beginning to feel very connected and human, and I'm feeling her pain, and I'm feeling my empathy is at the highest level. You know, like I'm now really connected with this person. And that's when you start really like being able to utilize and move things forward. And again, as I said before, if you know that, once you know that, it doesn't even matter so much how you remember the ad. You'll
It's
just
how it made
remember
you
it
feel.
as it's how it made me feel. So then I remember how it made me feel, and then I can go, oh, it made me feel like that because she cried. I don't need to remember every sentence she said. That doesn't matter. I don't need to know that.
I just saw a video about our favorite character, Gary Vaynerchuk, and he was talking about he apparently was very good in baseball when he was a little kid, but that's before like being strong and fast and having size and agility was anything. So he's like, when he's 8 years old, he's the best. You know, by the time he hit 10 or 11, he was already the worst. But he's like, he said what happened one day was his team would always win. He would always like get home runs. He would always great. And one day there was a kid, Big John or whatever the guy's name is, and he struck him out.
Little John, and he's very tall. That's how it goes, man.
Yeah, little, you got it.
Little John, very tall.
Yeah. That's you.
That's right.
So he said like this guy like struck him out 2-3 times, and he came into the car. He ran off the field. He was crying because he wasn't used to it. He was the best. Like he's like, what the heck just happened? And his mom said like, you know, like what happened? And he's like, you know, he started making all these excuses. He's like, you know, and he says he remembers like he thought like the sun was in his eyes. Like that's why he like lost the game. Maybe he didn't catch it, maybe whatever. And he said, I don't remember exactly what my mother told me, but all I remember is she made me feel is like we don't make excuses. We take responsibility and we learn from it and we move forward from it. And she's like, no, the reason you lost was because he struck you out, because he threw the ball so fast you couldn't get the bat around to do it. And he said that
steroids.
The feeling, yeah, dude, he was shooting up crazy back in Little League, man. I got stories about that.
No, but that whole
exactly
thing about like the feeling, the feeling is what
he
it is.
remembers
And
the feeling.
You'll reference the fact that your mom talked to you. Again, you don't need to remember every sentence, but you'll remember the feeling.
Yeah.
And that's, again, if we're talking about what you said, what sticks with people, it's about really engaging with the depths of their feelings and their emotions to really, you know, making that connection. You can see that.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. Okay. What should a brand do before they contact a creative strategist? Like,
okay,
what
so
do
this
they?
is very interesting because you mentioned this to me, and I thought, wow, this is a very interesting question. When I usually meet people, again, I think that my title is somewhere between creative strategist and creative consultant or whatever it is. It's somewhere like mishkabobbled in there. When I meet people, usually they have reached a conclusion, and then very quickly you know, I never trust people's conclusions. I never trust it. I always want to
Can
go
you
3
elaborate
steps
on
back.
that? You say
So
what type of conclusion have they reached?
so a conclusion is to
Aside
turn around
from
and
we need to go
say
out
we
and
need
get
to
to
make no, we need to no, their conclusion is we need to make a video. We need to make a landing page. Our biggest problem is X, right? And I always find, and I like again, I can say like 99% of the time, when I get there and they've reached the conclusion of what they need to do because they want to achieve something, I just do the 5 times why kind of thing, right? Where you ask 5 times why and you lead them backwards, and you'll find that what the issue was, what they were planning on doing as a conclusion, and what the outcome will probably be don't match at all. So for me, it's so much more important. For me, I'm turning around and saying, okay, what do I need them to do before I come in? I don't need them to do much. I just need them to understand what they want to achieve, and why they want to achieve it. Right now, it's okay if they don't have that. I'll come in. All they really need to know is that there's a problem, and once they know there's a problem that has to do with either marketing or growth or product or design or you know, an emotional connection that I need to be connecting with people, that's it. that's when you need to contact me. You say there's a problem, you don't have the means, or you've tried things and it doesn't seem to be working, contact me, I come in, and then basically I find myself in a situation where we go through that process. It's very important to me to go through that process with them, work out exactly what the problem is, and then what are the means to actually achieve the goal that they want to. Because I've watched, again, there's an interesting thing someone said to me recently, was that marketing is kind of becoming quite obvious. Like you'll be like, oh, that no one's opening your email. Okay, you need a better subject line. Okay, what are the best subject lines I've seen? You can go on Google and search for that and find a million of them. But unless you really understand what the real problem is, not what you think it is, not what's going, like what the real problem is, you're gonna put a band-aid in the wrong place. It's just it doesn't make sense. So really, yeah, I guess at that point, all I need them to do is to try to get to scope the fact that there is an issue, and to understand that right now they don't have the perspective to achieve what they want to achieve.
That's what I was going to say, is that I was thinking, like, if you're talking about a company like Monday.com or like a Facebook, or, any of these companies that you've worked with before, my first question is they're pretty established. They don't have brains in the company that can't figure this out. But then you just nailed it by saying they don't have the right perspective, because when you are involved in a situation, sometimes you're so caught up in the weeds that you can't see the sun. You don't see the sunlight because you're just so, I know for the past couple of months, just like with all of the shifts in our government policies and Corona and what's going on and who needs what in my own personal business, my family life has bled in a good way. How do I say that in a not brutal way?
Bled is not a brutal way.
Completely,
just blood everywhere.
Blood just spilled all over the place,
gushing into my business.
Just crimson. It's all up. It's all up in it. And I was just like, I don't have the bandwidth to think about ways to solve the problems.
What is my overall direction? Am I on the right path?
No, that's the problem, is that those are the questions that I'm having, as opposed to what do I need to do right now? So
now?
like what do I need to do literally in this exact moment to move forward? So what I'll do is physically, I will walk in my 1 kilometer radius that I'm allowed. And I will just get out, get the fresh air, get the blood out of my business and back into my veins, and start, flowing through my body, and, say a little prayer to the one on high to be like, I need help. I need opening of my
perspectives here.
Because I don't know what's going on. And, oftentimes after a while, it starts kind of seeping in, and that's because I'm able to get that bandwidth. But what you're saying is that companies are so caught up in their day-to-day operations and what they need to do and what's going on.
It's even more human than that. Go like even 2 steps lower. I want to succeed, so I don't look bad. I don't want to lose my job. I want to ask for a raise next month. I want to do, this is the funny thing about B2B, right? Everyone tries to understand, is B2B like B2C? Is it human? It's human to human. In the end, it's a person who wants to do good in front of their boss so they can keep going. And I think if I really think hard about it, I think that my father was very successful. We were very well off. I never felt like I needed anything. So when I went into the workplace, I was not very like, oh God, I need money. Like, it wasn't that my dad supported me in that sense, but like, I just didn't feel, I always felt like there's another job. There's another thing. If it doesn't match, it doesn't match, whatever. I'm me, and they need to accept me. You had the
mental safety net, at least.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought I was like a big dog or whatever. And that meant that when I was in offices, I didn't really care about, oh, they're going to give me the raise or they're going to be this. I just expected they're never going to give me the raise. And I was just going to keep moving and do whatever I want. And I did. And the things that I did, every time I had a job, I did great things. And even if I ended up fired or left or whatever, I went to the next one, and they were so impressed by the things I did that I got a better position, more pay and stuff. And then at one point, people asked me today, even companies who I really love, I have a client who's a retainer who I absolutely love. And they asked me, hey, will you work for us full time? And I'm like, no. And I said, the reason why is because my value will diminish for 2 reasons. One, I'll be in it with you. I'll have concerns. I'll be dependent on you. I don't want to be dependent on you. I want to be able to look at everything and see the ideas and come and tell you the things that maybe you don't want to hear, but it's the answer. right?
Mm.
And I said, like, there's a whole concept. If you really want to do that and you're inside an office, there's a thing. And excuse me, I don't know what rating we're doing with this series,
X.
but fuck you
X.
money. Fuck you
Mm.
money is
Elaborate.
yeah. So fuck you money is, my dad raised me to understand that I'm creative, and my whole life I'm going to have fuck you money on the side. And that meant that you need to be able to walk into the office, know in your heart of heart that what you're about to say is going to really work, and be able to bet on yourself. So many times I went into offices with CEOs and said, let's do this and this and this. And they'd be like, no, it's not going to work. And I'll be like, I'll bet half my paycheck this month. Now that's not how things work nowadays. High tech, you get your paycheck, it's on a digital piece of paper. It just says all the people that took your money, and you get whatever's left over, and that's yours, right? That paper is worth nothing unless the government needs it one day. But like generally, in that sense of having money to be able to turn around and go, I'm willing to put money down, because that's what they understand is the most valuable thing to you as an employee. Was kind of the fuck you money. Like, I'm willing to put my job on the line for this, so that you can do the things that you really believe in that will make a name for yourself. Yeah, so I think that till now, I still don't want to ever work in a company, because of the fact that I want to be able to have that freedom to be able to tell people, and look at other industries. Even the jobs I've had have always been jobs where I'm allowed to walk around most of the day. Isn't that weird? Like, imagine that I'm making the paycheck just like the guy who's sitting down there and has to look at data and make decisions and press a button, and I'm
You ever watch Silicon
walking
Valley?
around.
The show?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah,
You're the
you got
guy
it.
on the roof.
On the roof
You're the
guy.
roof
That's
guys.
me.
You're drinking
I have
beers.
this big smoothies, just walking around like, just walking around.
What is your job?
All my jobs.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I'm here.
But they'll call me when they need me. No, but that was really it. For most of the jobs that I was in, I had a boss, and then a person who was a superior in a different like tier. And that person saw me walking around and says, I see you walking around all day. Why aren't you doing work? And then my boss came out and said, that is his work. And I was like, is it really?
Okay.
Yeah, cool. I'll take it.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. What was the question?
Yeah, no. What should brands do? That was the ultimate.
I need to answer questions a lot shorter. I'm very bad at
It's okay. Micro content. Chop. No, we're talking about, you need to they have a problem. They have to understand that they have a problem. And then we spoke about the idea of perspective, and that they don't have the right perspective.
Do you know that I literally, those old fashioned label makers, like the ones where you push out the letters on my notebook, it says,
is it the one that prints the printing one?
Yeah. The ones it's like a plastic that it just pushes the name into the thing. So I have a label. I have two labels. Like on my notebook, it says Book of Perspectives on my notebook. So that whatever I'm writing things down, that is really what I'm doing. My job is to see your problem, the solutions, all the process from different perspectives.
That's awesome. Okay. So now we're going to hop in. Now that you have a client, they came to you, you figured out what their issues are. What's your creative process? Meaning, do you have a template that you use? Do you have a method that you use? Is there a system?
If I tell you, it's going to seem really stupid.
Okay, so we'll move to the next question.
No, I'll do it. Ready right now. I'll tell you. The problem here is this. If I told you, right, some of the best chefs in the world, right, they make you an omelet, and you're like, wow, this omelet is insane. And you go, how did you make this omelet? And they go, I broke the egg, I beat it, and I put it in a pan. You're gonna be like, so everyone can make this omelet, but it's not true. The way I make omelets, but if we're continuing the omelet metaphor for a second, I know that an omelet needs to be mostly done off the flame. So when I'm making an omelet, I know that I get it hot to a certain degree, then I move it off. I don't like any burn areas on my omelet. And that's why I make really good food. Like, I know that there's a process that's different. It's not just putting the egg on the pan and getting it done.
Yeah.
So the same thing kind of happens with my process. My process is very, very simple. But because I am involved with that process, it gets very different results. The process for me is called intro. Intro is when I meet with someone and we define our expectations and goals. Right? Okay. It's the introduction, not to one another. We do that on the phone. It's more of an introduction to the project. I want to understand, what are the things you want to achieve, and what are the expectations of this union, right, that we're having right now. So,
dearly beloved, we are gathered here today.
Dearly beloved. So And that is a process. That's not just like a hi, we want to do this. It's really, I ask them the right questions to kind of pull out the right objectives. The second part is called extraction. Okay. And I know this is a very weird title for what it is, but the extraction is basically, it was a name
This is,
someone
we're
else
talking
who I've
about
worked with.
dentistry, right? This is dental.
That's right. I'm just yanking out their,
Pull it out.
they're
Whip it
pulling
out.
it out.
Yeah. Oh.
Just like, oh, you got a problem? Let's take it. So extraction is a process where I am pulling out information from the person in front of me. It's not just about the problems, goals, and expectations, which is great to set those in motion. This is now about where's the company now? Where would you like the company to be? What are your challenges? What are the assets that you have, the tools and assets that we can use to solve those challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very simple strategic stuff. Like every strategy involves having, what are your assets and applying those to solving the problem.
Do you have like a
right?
document that you follow when you go in there? Or is it more of
No,
an
this is just
process?
like, this is natural. A lot of the processes and stuff that I do, again, I don't know if it's because my dad is, worked in PR and marketing to a degree. Like, again, wasn't like my dad said, oh, here, do this work for me. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know where all these things came from, but a lot of things are very simple and defined in my head, and I have to write them out into processes later.
Mhm.
So that was the second phase of what I do. Again, I can do this with anyone, and it always works out this way because I don't like, if a client came to me and said, we want to make a landing page, and I knew the landing page was wrong, and I told them, hey, the landing page is wrong. Let me explain to you why it's wrong. And they still said, we're making the landing page. Unless it was a ton of money, for the most part, I'm just going to say, no, I'm not doing this. This is the wrong thing.
Mhm.
So to do that, I need to have these steps. So first is intro, then extraction. And then we have open thinking. It's not necessarily brainstorming as much as it's open thinking. And I realized this because I met with a client from the US, and we were having this dialogue. They wanted me to assess what the issue was in their company, where they could go, and what they could do. And the way I did that meeting was by throwing lots of ideas at them, hearing what they're saying and throwing ideas at them. And in the end of the meeting, they wrote me this horrible email. They were like, we believe that you just wasted our time. The whole time you're just throwing out ideas. You weren't listening. You don't know anything about us and all this stuff, right? And I got very angry because, this is not my first rodeo and they're not the biggest client I had. So I was like, all right, let me put you in your place for a second. And I wrote them that every single idea that I said, I watched their faces, their reactions. And by that, I could tell exactly who is going to do what and how they're going to move and what the issues are in the company. So I could tell that one of them was motivated to do whatever was going to make money. The other one was motivated to do something great. And the third person didn't give a crap and didn't want to change anything. And by knowing this from the three founders of the company, I was able to make a lot more decisions of where we're going to go and what we should be doing and who would be doing it. So open thinking is kind of like a process of not only coming up with ideas that will go and execute, but also seeing where you stand, where are the challenges, where your comfort zones are. And the last but not least, which is my process, again, there's a lot of people like me who extra like go and do the execution. I don't believe in doing the execution. I believe in understanding, getting a clear vision of what needs to happen and being able to transfer that on to people. But the last section is called crafting. Okay. Crafting is where I craft out the plan or the execution or the vision for the people who are in front of me. What needs to be done? And even more than that, again, I'm also, on some projects, I'm taken also beyond that point to be like a director, taking their team, utilizing them or my own, freelance friends and people that I know, to help them deliver the results that I know will succeed. Right. And I know based on the millions of things that I watch and I see and I check up on, I know because I have I have over 12 years of marketing experience. I have enough to be able to say, I know that this will work. To what extent, I know it will work, let's say, better than whatever you have. If it does the most revolutionary campaign and becomes something I win an award, awesome. That's great. But like right now, I know what I'm doing and I have to craft that out for you. And I have to make sure that whatever I'm seeing in my head is closest to that execution level from the people who are executing it. And that's my stages. That's basically what I do.
Nice. So we got the intro, defining the problem, expectations, goals, and then the extraction part, which is pulling out the challenges, seeing whatever assets that they have, so on and so forth. Open thinking, which is not brainstorming, and that's more of a That's more of ideas being flown and thrown against them, and for you to read reactions and to kind of see what actually makes them tick, what works, what's not working. And ultimately, by reading off their reactions, you can see who's going to be successful in what. And then in the crafting aspect, that's the planning, execution, vision, whatever needs to be done. You're kind of like a conductor to the orchestra sometimes, not
It's kind of
always,
like it's like
but
the blueprint. It's the kind of like setting up the blueprint of what needs to happen. And
mhm.
then, you know, sometimes you have to talk to people who are involved and say, hey, this is what you need it to look
So
like.
it's the architect. The
Yeah.
architect isn't necessarily the contractor. The architect is the guy who says, these are the plans. And now you got to find a contractor who can actually deliver on the plans. I know people,
Yeah.
I can help, but I'm not going to build it for you. So it's kind of
Yeah.
being
But the
like
thing that's important there is that in my job with the types of materials and things that I'm doing, it's a lot of visual. I mean, it's a lot of visual. That's, I mean, it's not only me, it's the whole world right now. I mean, like everyone's doing video content. Everyone's, you know, it's not like if you write an article on LinkedIn, it's gone now. If you would have done it 3-4 years ago, it might have been the hottest piece of content out there. So a lot of it's visual stuff nowadays. How will this look? How will this feel when I show up with the question? Where am I showing up with the question? It's all about that visualization of the process, the journey, and stuff like that. So it's not that I just give them a piece of paper, and I want that like to be super duper clear because that's never going to help anyone. You know,
Mhm.
someone actually offered me a ton of money to create a document of what they should be doing with their marketing for the next year, and I was like, no way. And like my wife was like, what is wrong with you? But I was like, no, there's no way. The reason why is because one, inevitably it's going to fail. Even more now, like Corona, every day something changes. That doesn't make sense.
yeah.
I mean, you have to have an overall goal of what you want to achieve, and it should have shifted during Corona, but you should not have a marketing plan for the whole year now. You really need to have a vision of what's happening and all that stuff that's going on, but you shouldn't be locking yourself down to a specific, you know, channel or thing or you know, like it should really be something that you're a little more lucid about. And for me, I would much rather have them. Also, this is part of the process. I teach while I do. I don't come to just give you the answer. I want you to understand why the answer makes sense. So I'll show you references, I'll show you inspiration, I'll show you whatever you need to see to make you understand why I believe this will work. I want people to leave my sessions, my whatever projects that we're working on and go, crap, now I get it. This is amazing. I'm going to continue this and move it on. Like that makes me happier. I know like, yeah, it would be great if they kept saying, oh, we don't know. We just constantly want to pay you. But at the same time, I don't want it to be like that. I want them to kind of be smarter because they met me.
Awesome. Uh, that's
Cool.
that's amazing. That's amazing. I think it's also really important, and it shows confidence. It shows confidence in your abilities, and that probably is something that is what makes you so sought after, is the fact that people want somebody who's not insecure. There's a lot of businesses that are set up in a way to keep the client stuck to them, like through retainer modes or whatever. Like, I'll give you just enough that you have value, but not so much that now you can run away with it. Like, no,
Yeah.
I don't want you to run away. Like, I need you. So when you show that, like, I need you, that becomes like a massive problem. So the fact that you're able to um, kind of be like, listen, I want to help you and I'm here to help you. And there's a lot of other people that can help right now, but because I'm here for you, people feel comfort in that. And is like, and oftentimes they'll be like, I don't want you to go. I want you to stay
Yeah.
because,
The people
because
who sign
you
up with
actually
me,
care.
the people who sign up with me for retainers, and this is actually really great.
Once
As
again,
I
this is
said
dental,
before,
right?
that's all. So the people who set up for retainer, there's a CEO of a company which I absolutely love. I mean, I love them. They're one of my favorite clients. And he saw me getting a little
Monday.com.
he saw me getting a little pressured during our discussion because I was trying to make sure that I was delivering value to them. I love them and I really want them to succeed in every way possible. So I was saying to him, like, listen, you got to get me involved. I heard about this project going on in the company, you should have gotten me involved. This is really bad. Like, I would really want to be able to help there. And he said, Jonathan, I want you to understand, you don't need to prove your value to me because your value doesn't only come from the successes you create for us when we make money. It's also by showing us how to look at things and how to look at things differently when we need to be looking at things differently. So I said, just having you, again, it's a retainer. I meet with them once a week and whatever, just having you around to go, okay, I understand what you want to do, but take a second to look at it from this perspective. And they said that gives them so much value that's why they keep paying me and they want to have me around. And obviously they like me too, but but that's the main reason they want to keep me on. And I was like, wow, that's really nice. That's really sweet. So yeah, so I think it's also about that.
Awesome. All right, now we got a couple more potentially. I mean, once again, this is going longer than I expected.
Lots of micro content. Lots of
73 pieces. How do you make 73 pieces of micro content? You interview for 17 hours, and then, you're talking about
for about like 20 minutes.
Yeah, a 20-minute 70 pieces. No, 73 minutes.
That's right.
All right. This is where it gets a little bit more fun and personal. Who is your greatest influence and why?
I think we've actually spoke about this once before. I don't really have a person I look up to as I know you like Gary, and I like Gary. Sometimes he says things that are like phenomenal. And there are certain books that I feel are incredible, and they really, gave me a lot of perspective, made me very happy in life. Because I am a creative. I am a creative person. Whatever I do, I will have to do it within the creative realm of looking at things in new perspectives. Doesn't matter if I'm a marketer today or something else tomorrow. It will always have to use that talent, because if I don't do it, it's like a fish without water. So reading this book, for example, gave me a feeling. There's a book, it's not how good you are, it's how good you want to be. Have you ever seen this book? It's an incredible book. I love it. It's mostly pictures. And it's written, it was done by one of the most amazing advertisers
Charles
of his time.
Schultz. do you know Charles
Googling
Schultz?
this stuff right now?
No. Snoopy.
Ah, nice. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, Snoopy. So anyways, he wrote this book and it was incredible. It gave me a lot of insights and interesting things. Like, for example, as a creative, understanding that that's my talent. Is that my commodity? Is that my thing? Like, should I shut up and never tell anyone an idea unless they pay me money for it? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like the feeling. A lot of people were giving that to me. Like my grandparents, like when I was a kid, would be like, "Oh, you have a good idea? Don't tell anyone. Give it yourself. Right? Get a patent." And I'm like, "Oh, patent." Anyways, like that. Like you're gonna take it to the bank. And all of a sudden I read this small section of the book where they it's all 2 pages paragraph kind of thing, really nice pictures, very, very impactful book. And it just spoke about how giving your ideas is not a big deal. Like it can give out ideas from here till tomorrow. It doesn't diminish my value because I have the process. I have the process, not the process I said, the process of how I analyze things in my head and look at things. Right? The process I said there gives me enough information to be able to analyze what they want, what they need to achieve to achieve success.
But is there, I guess, to sharpen the question, is there a fundamental, maybe not a person or something that has been your greatest influence, but is there a fundamental teaching that you've learned that when you learned it, it hit you and it changed your entire perspective of wow, I actually see the world through a different lens now because I just learned this idea or whatever it is?
So I don't think I can say that there is one specific. Again, I'm okay. So this is the personal part. You said revealing and personal. So here it is. So I am dyslexic till they didn't discover that until age 10. I moved to Israel. A year after I get to Israel, I get type 1 diabetes. 10 years after that, my mom suffers from dementia and Alzheimer at a young age, at the healthiest you could possibly be. She could outrun me, out exercise, everything, gets dementia and Alzheimer. When you're a kid who has to deal with these moments where you look at, when, let's say high school, okay? When you're a high schooler and you have, I don't know, no money for cool sneakers, and you walk in and all your friends have cool sneakers and you feel out, you have to find a way to process that information, to look at things in a different perspective. Otherwise you get really depressed and go kill yourself. I don't know, come to the school with gun. But so in my life, I've I've constantly needed to shift my perspective to be able to live tomorrow, to like continue going. Again, I'm not saying that I was trying to commit suicide, but when you're a teenager, you're like, oh, I just wish everything would end, you know, like that kind of thing. Why do I have to have dyslexia when all my friends don't? Why can my little brother, oh man, my little brother is 2 years, 2 months, 2 weeks younger than me. And he was reading Machiavelli and The Art of War when he was 8. Like, fuck you. You need to make me look that bad as the dyslexic kid. Like, my parents were like, okay, this is our genius son, and this kid, we give him colors and he draws pictures.
Hey, Dad, I think Einstein was wrong because if you just look at this formula equation.
No, it's way worse than that. He'll be like, oh, I think Einstein's
go to
wrong.
recess.
Look at that buffoon, my brother. Like, that's like great. Theory of relativity. Anyways, this relative is not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, you know, like you're surrounded, you need to look at things differently. My mom did everything right and she got sick. Didn't make a lot of sense. Sick with a disease that comes from old people. Like, what is happening here? So then you turn around and you say, wait, maybe doing everything right doesn't necessarily achieve the outcome that you think it will. And maybe going according to all the rules will not necessarily lead you to the place you want to be. So I started questioning this at an extremely young age, right? Like understanding why is this not working? And my grandpa always had a thing that he used to say to us since we were a kid. He's like, he would tell dirty jokes at the table. When we were kids, my grandma would hit him and she'd be like, Jay, don't tell that story. And then he'll tell us a dirty joke and then he'll get hit again. And he always turned around in the end and he goes, you got to laugh in life. If you don't laugh, if you stop laughing, you'll start crying, right? So like the perspective was,
were they survivors by any chance?
No, they were not. Maybe they survived some whitefish in the bakery in Brooklyn. I don't know. They're just like old Jews. It's not like they didn't survive anything. I mean, they survived the Great Depression if you count that. But like again, my grandpa's like 90. So having this perspective, having this thing just made it so that I just constantly have to shift and understand how to shift my perspective. And that made the biggest impact on my life. I didn't read books like you read books. I didn't watch any person and follow their life history to really understand. If anything, I read quotes here and there. And I love quotes because again, it's just a I listen, do you like Louis C.K.?
Am I allowed to say it? Yes.
I do. I know. Exactly. That's the problem. That's the problem. So you're at the point where you love Louis perspective.
Cancel me.
Cancel me.
That was the first episode and last episode of the Creative Forum. Thank you so much. Louis
C.K. No, but the idea is that if you like Louis C.K., you don't necessarily condone what he was doing, you know? Like, you love his comedic sense of perspective of how he came up with his jokes and stuff like that. And maybe even the delivery of how he delivers things, but it's not necessarily that you would like what he did, just whipping it out. So for me, it's not like that, but I take the small, a lot of people are like, oh, I love him for whipping it out. I don't like his humor.
His humor is terrible.
His humor is like, but whipping it out.
It's his truth. It is his truth.
His truth. And he's living by it.
He's living by his truth.
So
that was his nickname.
Quotes always got me. It's truth. Living by truth.
You can't handle the truth.
That's what he said to people when they ran away.
Sure, I can. No, you can't. Anyway.
So the idea is that a lot of quotes and stuff really got it for me. Like there was a quote that Picasso did. I think it was Picasso. He wrote a thing that something like, since I was 10 years old, like 8 years old, I could draw like Rembrandt. It took me my whole life to learn to draw like a child. There was a interesting interview with Picasso that was done where they asked him how many original pieces of art, because a lot of people were forging the art at the time. Asked him, how many pieces of art, original pieces of art do you actually have? And he said, 4. And they were like, what? We're sitting here in your studio. You have hundreds around us. Like, this is not 4. And he said, 4 pieces of art that were not inspired by other things or other people and just came from me. Right. And it was like, wow, that's a very interesting quote. And it keeps going. There's millions of little quotes and things that I'm like, wow, that was a really interesting perspective. That I think was good. I might have had one drunk 5-day trip with my dad and brother to Barcelona that changed the way I look at the world completely. But again, it's not.
We can't talk about that on the podcast. Okay. That was good. That was good. So that's. I find that very interesting. I guess because I personally have had a lot of like mentors in my life, or I've connected to people who are, experts in their field or whatever it is, a lot of times in the spiritual world. But, the first time it happened to me in the professional world was with like, Gary Vaynerchuk, and I was working in a nonprofit in the marketing department, and his whole entire perspective on marketing and business and, you name it. Everything was, excuse my French, but like a chiddush, it's Hebrew,
Yeah,
like a
you
novel
finished right now.
idea, but it was like a novel idea. But it's not. It's actually things that have been done for forever, but it was just presented in kind of like a new way. But the fact that it changed my perspective on, because this is creative content, is that, I've been thinking more and more and more and more about, repurposing, and what does it mean to like repurpose content. Is that number one, is that 99% of your audience didn't see what you originally put out. Most people are not going to see this podcast, but more will be able to see some content, some chopped up little short 2-3 minute clips, and more people will be able to see, little blog articles, and more people will be able to see little memes, as you said. Maybe they're kind of flipping through their, Instagram as they're and they see like a text that's like, 25 words or whatever it is. And it's like, that was an interesting idea. So that one video that you spent an hour and a half speaking with somebody that had 7 people who watched, well, all the other content maybe combined could have thousands of people who actually got benefit from it. And it was because of that idea and that person that kind of was able to change my perspective. And, I've probably had certain novel concepts of, from myself, but I found that the biggest transformational ideas have come from people who have kind of like walked down the path before. And this is something that I read in 2 different places. And I know it's something of truth when I read it both from like a religious text and also in like secular business knowledge. And they start talking about the same exact thing, but from like kind of different perspectives. And one of them was, I was literally just reading a book about a tzaddik, a righteous person, and why should you follow a righteous person, because, which is very few and far between, unfortunately. But if you actually find a truly righteous person, you should follow after them. Why? Because they've traversed this path, and they know how to get to the other side. They know how to get to the point of goodness at the end, and they know the pitfalls, and they know, don't step there, you're going to totally sink, and make sure you put your foot over there and you're going to be sturdy and everything's fine. I was, I'm very into now Russell Brunson. He's the founder of ClickFunnels, and it's very salesman-esque, but because he's speaking from such a level of truth, he says this, and I realized like, oh, this is what I've been trying to do. He's like, don't reinvent the wheel. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be somebody who's like brand new, congratulations, go ahead, good luck. But he's like, all the entrepreneurs are the people who have arrows in their back. So many entrepreneurs didn't make it. 99% of startups, whatever, don't make it. So he's like, what you need to do is you actually need to follow the style and the path of those who've already made it. Look at the companies that have been successful. Look at the people that have been successful and follow in their footsteps. And so like I've found for myself, and this is something that I try to, I guess, hone in, because I am a creative spirit, and oftentimes creativity comes with not too many boundaries. It's a little too much freedom in many ways, which is where the creativity is fantastic, but where it gets lost into the ether of nothingness because you don't actually concretize it, which is very difficult to do. But when you are able to take your creativity and you follow the path of somebody who's been there, like I was speaking with a friend of mine today who's an incredible photographer, videographer. I've learned, he's a whiz. I called him the whiz kid because when he was 20 years old and I'm 35, he was teaching me all these tricks that he's learned since he was like in 8th grade, and he was talking about building his brand, and like he has the talent itself. He's good. He's got the talent. He's got the drive. He's got the work ethic. I said, what you need to do to build your brand is you need to find the most successful videographers and photographers on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on whatever, and you need to copy their structure. whatever they're doing structurally, the types of pictures that they're putting, your style or whatever. But look at how do they display their pictures? How do they write the copy? How do they tag it? How often do they post? What do they post? Follow that method. And then once you are able to establish yourself in that method, then you can ultimately kind of veer off, which kind of brings us back. So I always find it very interesting when you have people who are incredibly talented and successful and creative, who kind of are like, I can't necessarily put a specific point on, where I get my stuff from, because it's kind of just a combination of so many things. I'm always very intrigued and in many ways impressed, because I know for me, although I am a creative, I tend to kind of levitate or gravitate. I tend to levitate. Gravitate, that's a different thing. Gravitate towards, David Blaine. Gravitate towards, people who have kind of been there before.
So I think the difference is that I look at these people, I look at the things, and I reverse engineer. I don't necessarily look at their path and try to study exactly what they did, but I just try to reverse engineer their mindset throughout the process. And then I'm more interested in understanding why they made the decision, or why the decision was right. Not just about turning around and saying, again, it's not necessarily going to make me a millionaire. I mean, I've met a person who is the best at doing what he reads on Google. And the guy, I'm very surprised, but the guy has a $10 million company, right? What he did, I sat with this guy, and he said to me, how did you make a $10 million bootstrap company, right? And he said to me, just did what I read on Google. And I was like, don't ever tell anyone that. But the truth is that he was smart. He was really smart. He was just saying, there are types of people who can just read a list of things they need to do and just do it. They don't feel the fear. They don't feel anything. They just do it. For me, I am in somewhat a level of perfectionist. I need to understand it really to the depths to understand it before I start doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm lucky. I have a fast process of thinking these things through, but I reverse engineer whatever they're saying, whatever they did, then I understand it, and then it becomes mine. It doesn't become there anymore, because then I'm already getting into their process of how they did it, and I'm changing it up according to what I can do.
Oh man, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. I like.
I wish I could do that. I wish I had an answer I follow John Smith. He's amazing. The guy changed my life.
Little John.
I really
Little
wish
John
I had
Smith.
That. Little John.
Little John Smith.
Very tall.
Little John Smith. Tall little John Smith. Yeah, no, I respect that. I mean, and also that's, I don't think Elon Musk is following a playbook. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
even
I
more
don't,
than that, I
Bezos, I don't think he followed the playbook.
Even the tzaddik thing you said about a righteous man who's a good, I have met a lot of people in this world, and at some point, even Bill Cosby did something really bad. So it's very hard for me to think that there's a righteous person. But what I did like about what you said was that theoretically, to be able to tell people to watch out from the hole, it means you fell in the hole.
Oh, I'll tell you.
So these tzaddiks that you're talking about, they weren't born just elevating and they were perfect and everything. They went through the crap. And then it's a lot easier to understand what they are when you turn around and say they're people who have actually went through shit, and they're going to tell you to watch out.
That's exactly. And here's the theological aspect of our thing is that if you look at the Torah, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Isaac not so much, but they all screwed up. You look through the entire Bible.
Yeah, Isaac
they
really
made mistakes.
Anything, huh?
Isaac
was just he screwed up just by being there at the wrong time when his dad was like, "Hey, we're gonna go do a barbecue. You coming?"
You mean? Oh, okay.
Wait, slather myself in barbecue sauce?
I guess. Okay. Yeah. No, but you're right. Is that from what I've learned is that. I mean, we have the famous idea that tzaddik shevi yipol tzaddik v'kam. A righteous person falls 7 times and gets up. That's the difference between the righteous and the not as righteous. Is that a not as righteous person stays down, And that from a professional's perspective, from a creative perspective, is
Yeah, that's great. Actually, that's actually a really good thing. Professionally, what you're saying is choose a mentor based on how many times they fell and stood back up.
Yeah, I mean, if you find somebody and
That's
they say
way
they
more
never
interesting.
screwed up, they never made a mistake.
Yeah, even investors don't invest in people who haven't had a business that like an entrepreneur that hasn't had a business that failed.
I mean, look,
You know,
people talk about Trump. I don't know if you've heard of this guy, Donald Trump. He was a successful real estate guy. He's in politics now. Actually, he's in entertainment now. He's in entertainment.
Yeah, that's true. It's
He's
all
never
part of
left
the
entertainment.
I don't know if you saw the latest episode, but like,
oh yeah,
who knows if there's going to be a next season? I don't know.
Cliffhanger. You should be well. So anyway, people always, they're like, he's a billionaire. You know how many times the guy filed for bankruptcy? I was like, that's why he's a freaking billionaire, you silly people, because he is open to failing and he's open to trying. And the most successful people that I know, they have failed at a lot of things. Tony Robbins says, the best way to get good at something is to make as many decisions as possible, and you're going to fail a lot. And as the more you fail, eventually it's going to get less and less and less because you failed so many times.
You're collecting knowledge.
That was bad. That was bad. Up. And eventually you're like, I don't make as many mistakes as I used to make. And it's because you keep on, screwing up, and then you fix it and you keep on getting up. So okay. That's awesome. I really like that perspective of, learning from different people, learning from different things, and then obviously taking your main spin on it. I just want to ask now 2 more questions. Which is really 1.5, because the last question is how do people contact you? But
okay. I don't know.
Carrier pigeon?
No, smoke signals. That's how I roll.
When did you feel you were at your maximum peak performance level, and what was the context? Me professionally.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Who writes these questions? No. So
Jimmy, my producer.
It's for Louis C.K. This is not for
the truth.
The truth. So it's not necessarily a question of when is like my peak of my career. It's more about like when am I?
No, like you felt like I am zoned. Like I am so in the zone. This is.
Oh, okay. That's definitely.
I mastered.
I know. I have a fear. It's a slight fear. I have a fear in the background of my head that I've met someone who's very creative who worked in a startup, and he was very, very crucial for the startup in the beginning. But as the startup was getting to the point where they could actually had enough to like left meat on it to sell it to a bigger company or do something with it, he was very like tucked away in the corner. Like no one was really bothering him or listening to him. They were just like, we're going to do what we need to do to hit the numbers we need to hit to get the thing. Like it was very closed-minded, just kind of thing. Right. And that's like my biggest fear, because when I'm in the zone, wow. The Super Bowl was one of the examples of like when I'm in the zone. I was working at Wix. I worked at Wix for 2 years, and I was there during the first Super Bowl. And again,
I was like in the 60s, bro. I don't think you were born.
Yeah, it was like no, not the first. Like the first Wix Super Bowl. Their first Super Bowl. Okay, fine. Yeah. So I was working at Wix for 2 years.
Vince Lombardi himself handed me the trophy.
He gave me. So when Wix did their first ad in the Super Bowl, I was brought in. Like they went and they did the commercial. They didn't tell anyone really in the office. They kind of just went and got into the Super Bowl. They walk into the room and say, "Hey, Jonathan, we're going to be in the Super Bowl." And I'm like, "Oh my God, do you want ideas for a commercial?" And they're like, No. We paid someone way more than what you make to give us an idea. I was like, "Oh, that sounds stupid."
Thank you.
But they said, "Jonathan, can you come up with ideas for the social media campaign?" And then they said, like, take a week, come up with like a whole bunch of lists, present it to us. I took 3 hours, and I knocked on his door and I said, "Listen, I have 105 ideas on slides. Do you want me to continue?" And he said, "Hell no, stop." He said, "Come in, present it now." So I came in, I presented the ideas. They loved the ideas. They said, "Jonathan's going to be on the war room team," which was a team. And this is when I was in my spot. It was a team of the heads of each department, the content, SEO, PR, whatever it was, the graphic design, the videographers, everyone is at the table, and they go, okay, we need to find a way to make our commercial the best commercial. We need to get the Ad Blitz award. We need to do this. We need to find this. We need to do this. And everyone was just coming to me. And I'm really, really fast. I do fast processing of thinking and process of like the memory is coming up really, really quickly. And I've seen what I've seen and I've seen things that have succeeded and what didn't succeed and what's happening. And again, I'm not even at that point. I'm not a football fan. I just know commercials. I know Super Bowl commercials. I know
For
the
Super
impact that we
Bowl,
can make on people.
Super Bowl is outside. It's an anomaly.
Yeah, I mostly just watch the commercials. Anyway, so I'm just being attacked by all these people just needing things and needing to find solutions, quick, creative, out of the box solutions. And it was like, oh, it was great. And I get that also today, like even with, that was like the first time that I really felt really, really happy in that kind of scenario. And nowadays, again, depending on what kind of relationship I have with specific clients, I have a client who basically brings me in. I sit down and departments from his company, all the different departments approach me with whatever challenges they have, whatever thing they need a creative solution for. And I just like, I'm able to spitfire, but not just spitfire, be like, oh, go make a yellow banana and then stick it on. No, I have not only the idea, I have the references, I have the inspiration, I have the process. I'm teaching them as I'm doing it. I'm showing them and explaining to them why it needs to be this way, so that if they need to continue without me, they have the tools to do so. And it is amazing. So going back to that fear I said in the beginning, I know that one day, and my dad told me this when I was way too young to understand it. He said, if you want to make money in life, you need to own something, son. And they piped a huge cigar. And no, I'm just kidding. He didn't. But he said that to me, and I was like, oh yeah. He said that to me, and I realized, okay, I need to do to really make it in life. You really need to have some sort of something valuable that you own, and then you can give that to sell to other people. And I know that in some point it would be really fun to work in a startup, because a startup is, again, those departments will all come to me and all have that thing. But I'm scared that in some way they'll use it to a degree and then they'll stop using it. It's one of the reasons that I also like to work not for a company, because I feel like when you work at a company, you're taken for granted as the idea guy. You need to stay sharp. And again, I worked at Wix when for a Super Bowl, they brought a consultant in who made like $100,000, something a crazy amount of money, to come in for 3 days to just consult on the campaign and what we were doing and everything. And I had two friends who were literally doing the math on how much money we were paying when he went to the bathroom to take a shit. Like they were sitting going, okay, that was exactly, and we calculate that and we do, okay, that was a $3,000 shit. Like that's what they were doing. Like it was like, I realized that guy is going to come in, he's going to say something and people are going to listen to him. And it's going to make an effect, and it's going to take things. If he's good, it will make the
But do you notice, as I'm listening to you, the fact that they value his time so much is why they consider his expertise so much. Not that like you and him literally could have given the same exact idea in the same way, but because he's positioned himself as such a specialist and expert, and he charges so much. I mean, listen, if you go to any company right now for whatever it is, and they say, yeah, my hourly consulting rate is $2,000 an hour, and for this project, it's going to be 50 grand for a day. You're like, whew, they must know what they're doing, because how can somebody charge so much money if they didn't know what they were doing?
And the thing that you keep hearing from all the different people talking about how to be successful is they say, do that, because that person, even if he doesn't pay you, he walks away and goes, those guys are geniuses, but they're too expensive for me. And when they meet a friend and that friend has money or has a good company or whatever, and he turns around and goes, well, I don't know what to do, I need this thing. And they're gonna be like, oh, these guys know what they're doing. I mean, they're like $50,000 a day. Like it's insane, but they know what they're doing. It's ridiculous. And I had many situations where external consultants were brought into a place and they were getting more than me or more whatever. And I was there giving a better idea. And when it flopped, I kind of I would laugh at not laugh like, ha ha ha, everyone,
Yeah.
we're failing, we're going to die. But I would go up to the CMO or whatever and be like, do you remember when I said, and he's like, shut up. So like,
It's true.
yeah, I had millions of things like that with Wix where I realized that there was something they could do that would be so amazing. And then later their competitor did it, or someone else bought this. I had a company that was really cool. They were called 3D. And what they did was they created, they go to stadiums and they position cameras to do like 360 shots of like people shooting to the goal and all this amazing stuff. And it was supposed to like uplift the level of sports. And they're, great company. They did it in a lot of different stadiums. They were doing stuff. And when Wix sponsored their first soccer team, they said, we got to do something cool. What should we do? And I was like, I got an idea. I contacted someone I knew there who was like one of the founders, and I asked him for his deck. I came up to the people and I said, hey guys, look, this company's incredible. Okay. Not only do I think that we should create a deal with them to do this in the stadium of that soccer team, and to show these 360 shots sponsored by websites built on Wix, right? Like finding some guy who has like a soccer memorial website and putting his domain on these 360 things. But I think we should actually buy them. Like if Wix can afford to buy them, it would be genius. And everyone's like, whatever. 6 months later, Intel bought them. And they're a super successful company, and they're still doing it around the world. So it's like, damn it. Again, So the external thing, as much as it sucks, the external thing is like, yeah, if you pay me more money, you value my time. If you value my time, you listen to what I'm saying. If you listen to what I'm saying and I'm good, which I am, not in a cocky way, but just I am, we'll achieve great stuff and it will work. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, huh?
That's how it works, man. Awesome. Thank you, Jonathan. How can people contact you?
How can people?
This is the half question. How can people contact you?
How can people contact me?
Yeah. How can people? What did we say before?
Again,
Zeta Jones.
Zeta Zone. So again, you can find me on LinkedIn. That's mostly like where I am. It's kind of crazy that that's like my main social media channel at this point. But LinkedIn is definitely there. And
I love the cat memes. I love the cat memes on LinkedIn.
The cat. You know what? We should just do that. Just to see
can we just turn LinkedIn into Facebook from 2009 or 2008?
It basically is. It's really funny how like I'm looking at this and going, this movie feels really good, but they're gonna Facebook this.
I've seen it.
Yeah, they're gonna Facebook this soon, and it's not gonna feel the same way. Yeah.
All right. So LinkedIn is the place. LinkedIn. Do you accept messages on there, or are you a message Nazi?
No, I'm very down. Messages, everything. I don't care. Shoot me anything. I was.
You got the lock. That lock, which is like no
lock. You can lock no messages. Really? No.
Yeah, you can stop people unless they're a friend or whatever.
I don't even mind the spam. Like I love it. Like when someone writes me, "Hi, do you need? I have a company in Ukraine. Do you need 62 developers now?" And I'm like, you know what? Maybe. I don't know.
I know you do video production, but are you looking for a SaaS product? Because we can build
exactly. Because we that's what we do. And you're just like, yeah, the new trick for that, right? The new trick is to put the emoji in front of your name, because when they do the automated thing, it will paste that emoji and you'll know it's fake.
I actually try to resell them.
Fist bump, Dov. Like they'll just like write it out and you'll be like,
fist bump, Dov. I try to reverse sell them. I'd be like, actually, I'm not in the need for like some type of SaaS product right now.
But maybe you need a video.
Would you like some video? How would you like to repurpose some content? I mean, I think it would really help with your brand.
I always believe it's great to meet anyone. I don't care if he's writing me this email. Obviously he's just trying to make money for his business. Maybe he's a really cool guy who does something really awesome, and then why not? I mean, we met from like a weird chat that I shot you a message. Where I was like, "Hey, let's just talk."
No. We met before that.
It could have been. We did meet before that.
At the Our Crowd. Our Crowd.
At the Our Crowd. We had the Our Crowd, and you also like wrote me on LinkedIn. But I was like, "Yeah, let's talk. Let's meet." And I'm just enthusiastic to meet new people.
That was intense. I was like, I just commented on your Instagram story.
Why are you just attacking me?
We should go for a candlelit dinner.
That's right.
And I was like,
and a movie.
I am down.
I'm married with 3 kids.
But she's cool.
But she's cool with it. We're open.
Awesome. Okay, so LinkedIn is the place to be. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, for being number one, the
Thank
best
you.
guest. It is going to be very hard to top you, but I really appreciate your time.
I apologize for that, by the way. I understand that I've kind of raised the bar, and now what's the point?
I mean, the next episode's Gary.
This might be the first and last episode. Nice. Yeah, but no one wants to hear from him. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Gary V's number 2. But you know, whatever.
It's gonna be hard for him to follow me at this point.
Yeah, because I already talk about the repurposing content. So no new novel ideas.
No news there.
Nope. Sorry. Can we?
Yeah, we spoke about that last episode. Sorry, man.
Sorry. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And
No problem,
check out Jonathan Kahn for all your creative needs. All right, man. Thank you so much. Peace and many blessings. All the best.